So in this deep dive, we're going to try to pull out those golden nuggets from what you said.
Okay.
And give you some actual tools to build stronger bonds.
Love it.
And hopefully boost your own well-being along the way.
Cool.
We're looking mainly at M.R. Cashell's book, Make Yourself Great Again. Some pretty potent quotes in there.
For sure.
But we've got some other gems mixed in as well.
Awesome.
One of the things that really jumped out from your submissions was this idea of a garden. Cashell uses it as this metaphor for relationships.
Yeah.
So you've got your flowers, which are the healthy, vibrant connections, the ones that bring you joy.
Absolutely.
And then you've got the weeds, the relationships that are draining or even toxic.
Ah, I see.
And what's really interesting is that the source emphasizes that you can't just plant a garden and walk away.
Oh.
If you take a let it be approach, things are going to get out of control pretty quickly.
Definitely weeds everywhere.
Exactly. Those weeds, they're going to choke out your flowers if you don't stay on top of things.
So it's all about tending to the garden.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's ongoing weeding, nurturing, being really present.
And speaking of being present, the whole time aspect is huge here.
Right.
We've got this quote from Peter Drucker. Time is the scarcest resource, and unless it is managed, nothing else can be managed.
I love that quote.
It's so true, and it applies so well to relationships.
Absolutely. I mean, how we spend our time really shows what we value.
Yeah.
And if we want to cultivate a beautiful, thriving garden, we got to put in the time to care for it.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so let's dive into the nitty-gritty of tending this garden.
Let's do it.
And one of the first things we got to talk about is that natural back and forth in any relationship.
The give and take.
Exactly. The source material points out that every relationship, whether it's personal or professional, operates on some level of give and take.
Right. And what's really fascinating is that the material encourages you to actually think about your own patterns. You know, are you typically the giver or the receiver?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because reflecting on that can give you some real insight into how healthy your relationships are.
It's not about keeping score, though.
Yeah, not at all.
It's not like you're tallying up who did what for whom.
Right.
It's more about a general feeling,
Right.
a sense of mutual care and support.
Exactly. Both people in the relationship should feel like their needs are being met and that they're valued.
Right. And when that balance gets really out of whack,
Oh, yeah.
when one person is always giving and the other is always taking, that's when problems start.
You start to see resentment creeping in. The giver might feel drained and exhausted.
Exactly. And ultimately, the relationship suffers.
It's like a plant that's not getting enough water or sunlight.
Exactly.
It
Withers.
Yeah.
And this brings us to the bigger picture of how our relationships shape who we are. There's this Portuguese proverb that I love. Show me who you walk with, and I will tell you who you are.
Powerful stuff.
It really makes you think about the company you keep.
For sure.
Because the people we surround ourselves with, they're like mirrors reflecting back our values, our ambitions, even our habits.
Absolutely. And the source makes it clear that positive, supportive relationships can be huge catalysts for growth.
They can really boost your confidence too.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, negative or unbalanced relationships can hold you back and drain your energy.
It's like being surrounded by weeds instead of flowers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They just suck the life out of you.
Right. So if these connections are so important, how do we actively cultivate the healthy ones?
Well, we got to remember that it's not just about spending time, it's about investing time.
Ah, yes. There's that great Stephen Covey quote, "The key is not in spending time, but in investing it."
Bingo. It's about being present, engaged, really listening, showing empathy.
Right, being intentional with your interactions.
Exactly, because that's how you build trust and deep bonds.
And it's also about setting boundaries.
Interesting. You wouldn't think boundaries would be that important in close relationships.
But they're crucial for keeping things healthy.
How so?
Well, boundaries aren't about creating distance. They're about defining limits.
Okay.
What you're comfortable with in a relationship, what you're willing to give and receive.
I see.
It's about making sure both people feel respected and fulfilled.
So it's kind of like having a fence around your garden.
I like that analogy.
It keeps the good stuff in and the bad stuff out.
Exactly. It helps protect what you've cultivated.
Now, this whole idea of balance is something we hear a lot about.
Right, especially work-life balance.
Yeah, the author actually mentions that their talks on this topic have been a hit all over the world.
It seems like there's this universal desire to find that equilibrium.
Okay.
We all want to feel fulfilled both professionally and personally.
Exactly. But the source also challenges the traditional way we think about balance.
That seesaw metaphor.
Yeah, trying to keep both sides perfectly level.
Which is impossible.
Especially because life is constantly changing.
Right, our priorities are always shifting.
So this rigid idea of balance can actually lead to more stress.
Because you're constantly trying to adjust to maintain that perfect equilibrium.
And you're always going to be a little off.
Exactly.
No.
So the source introduces this concept of a dynamic fulcrum.
Ooh, I like that.
It comes from Wayne Cordero, and it's this idea that our point of focus, our main priority, needs to be adaptable.
Interesting. So it's not fixed.
Nope, it shifts depending on what's most important at any given time.
So like during a family emergency, your focus naturally shifts to your loved ones.
Right.
But then when you're in the middle of a big project at work, your focus might shift to your career.
Exactly. It's about being flexible and responsive to the demands of life.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's like a dancer adjusting their balance as they move.
Right. It's about finding stability within the movement.
And I imagine this approach could help us feel less overwhelmed.
Absolutely. Because you're not trying to do everything perfectly all the time.
You're giving yourself permission to focus on what matters most in each moment.
Exactly. And this idea of shifting focus connects to the importance of boundaries.
Okay, I'm seeing the link.
Because boundaries help us define what we allow into our lives and what we keep out.
It's like that fence around the garden again.
Exactly. You're choosing what to let in and what to keep out.
So it's not just about the people in our lives, it's also about the information and influences we let in.
Precisely, the source uses this beautiful quote from Rumi, "Be like a tree and let the dead leaves drop."
I love that.
It's about recognizing that we need to be just as mindful of our mental and emotional diet.
That's a good way to put it.
What we read, what we watch, who we spend time with, it all has an impact.
So we need to be picky eaters.
Exactly. And we need to be vigilant about guarding against negative influences.
There's that saying, bad company corrupts good manners.
So true. And the source really encourages you to take stock of your current relationships. Right? Ask yourself, who am I spending the most time with? Do these interactions leave me feeling energized or drained?
And then there's that powerful quote from Jim Rohn. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
That one can really make you think.
Because it highlights just how much our close connections shape us.
And it emphasizes the importance of surrounding ourselves with people who inspire us, who lift us up.
Right, people who challenge us to grow.
Exactly.
Now, the source acknowledges that sometimes you can't just cut people out of your life.
Especially family.
Right. But it does suggest that you can manage the level of influence they have.
And that often comes back to setting boundaries.
Even with family.
Even with family.
Oh,
I mean, limiting the time you spend with them or steering conversations away from certain topics.
It's about protecting your own well-being.
Exactly.
And the source provides this really cool tool for evaluating relationships.
The friendship evaluation test.
Yeah, it's a set of 12 questions that can help you determine whether a relationship is worth investing in.
Questions like, does this person add value to my life? Do they encourage me? Do they believe in my potential?
And there's a scoring system, right?
Yes, depending on how many yes answers you have, it gives you a recommendation for how to proceed with that relationship.
So like if you score really high, it means you should continue to invest in that relationship.
Right, but if you score really low, it might be time to create some distance.
I like how concrete and actionable that is.
It takes the guesswork out of it.
And of course, our relationships extend beyond the physical world.
Oh, absolutely. Social media plays a huge role these days.
Like a whole other garden to tend to.
Right. And the source challenges us to think critically about who we're following online.
Are those accounts adding value to our lives, or are they dragging us down?
It's all about being intentional with our online consumption, just like we are with our food and our relationships.
So just like we might unfollow a recipe blog that's no longer inspiring us.
We can unfollow accounts that trigger negative emotions or make us feel bad about ourselves.
It's about creating an online space that aligns with our values and our goals.
And just as we close the door to negative influences, we need to open the door to positive ones.
How do we do that?
Well, the source highlights the importance of seeking out mentors, people who inspire us and who embody the qualities we admire.
Like role models.
Exactly. And it also emphasizes the value of reading books, listening to podcasts, learning from experts in their fields.
So surrounding ourselves with sources of wisdom and inspiration.
Right. And another important aspect is surrounding ourselves with people who are growth-oriented.
Who challenge us to be better.
Exactly, because their energy and ambition can be contagious.
It's like having a personal cheering section.
And it creates this positive feedback loop where everyone is pushing each other to grow and improve.
So in the end, it's all about creating a supportive ecosystem for ourselves.
Both online and offline.
Exactly. And being mindful of the energy and influences we allow in.
Because as we've seen, our relationships have a profound impact on who we become.
Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive, here are the key takeaways. 10-2, your relationships like a garden. Be mindful of the give and take. Recognize that our connections shape us. Invest time and energy, intentionally set boundaries, and be selective about what you allow in.
And remember that balance is a dynamic process, not a static state.
It's about finding stability within the movement.
Exactly.
So here's something to ponder this week. Thinking about that dynamic fulcrum, where might you need to shift your focus in your relationships in the coming week? And what's one small step you can take today to tend to that part of your garden?
It's all about putting these principles into action.
Exactly. And that's what we're all about here on The Deep Dive, giving you the tools to live a more fulfilling life.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
For more information, visit MYGA.com.